All right, we're back with another episode of Winning at Weight Loss, the show here in Winnipeg with myself, Mitch Calvert Fitness, very creative with my business name. And today it's not just me talking to you. We've got a special guest who's going to have a great story to share and really add to the value of what we try to present here. And that's Ainsley from CTV Morning Live, reporter and originally from Kitchener, now adopted Winnipegger based locally here in town. So welcome to the show.
Thank you. I hope I can add something. You're the one providing all the value, so
No, it'll be good and refreshing to not be the one just doing all the talking. I think I
yes.
kind of like to be in the listener role. So maybe just start us off with kind of your journey. I think you had described on one of your shows, food is like the longest relationship we have. Like we have to eat to live, and it
hmm
can be this really negative thing for a lot of people. So, like, how has your relationship with food like evolved over the years?
hmm Well, I am Italian,
Yes.
and so that I think that goes without saying. Food is a really central part of Italian culture. Like, pasta every Sunday, breakfast before church. Like, it's a really integral part, and so you connect food with family and food with happiness, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but I heard you talk earlier on your stuff too, like you have to finish everything. And that's definitely the family that I grew up in is you have to finish everything. And there's almost a shame in not, oddly
Mhm.
enough. My mom now is definitely a very healthy person, eats really well, eats super clean, works out a lot, but that wasn't always the case. We were so active with sports and we were on the go. So I really value the physical stuff, but the eating definitely has had its ups and downs.
Mhm. Yeah, and that's not unique to you. Like the whole starving child in Africa syndrome, a lot of people have that ingrained in them in childhood. I don't know if it was ingrained in them from their parents. Like it's a long chain of events that's led to that, but not listening to your own hunger cues, eating beyond the point of being stuffed because we don't want to waste the food. It has to be on the plate. And that's a mindset we try to help our clients get around. And it's not easy because it's
Yeah.
so ingrained in the DNA. So how
Well,
did you kind of, yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say it's tough too because sometimes it's not the child in Africa. It's like my mom was born in Italy, so they didn't have much. So for them, it's not the child in Africa. It's the child of where they physically came from. So when you're a hardworking immigrant family, a hardworking newcomer, when it gets to the point that you can start to have cheese and you can start, it wasn't just
Mm-hmm.
a nicety, then it's like, okay, well, don't you appreciate this? Don't you
Mm-hmm.
appreciate that food? It doesn't feel so out of touch when it's actually within your own family. But now, like to your question, uh I don't know. I feel like I've been so up and down. I've been 20 pounds lighter than this. I've been a hair heavier than this. Um, a lot of that obviously to do with mental health stuff too, but it's it just feels like it's the never ending challenge, the never
Mm-hmm.
ending journey, and I can never just be at peace with it because I'm such an obsessive person. So when I go into that mode of the calorie deficit and whatnot, it's go go go. I'm weighing my almonds.
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing all that,
Yeah.
but to what end? I'm heavier now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that is the age-old journey, right? It's like what we talk about with our clients, like you can change these behaviors and force it for a while, but unless the identity changes beneath the surface to make these choices more automatic, it always kind of reverts back. And that's a tricky challenge for all of us. Hey, myself included. Like I was
Mhm.
260 pounds for the better part of about 2 decades, frankly, till I was in my
Wow.
mid-20s. So losing the weight, I still, to this day, as a coach who knows better, who's worked with 1,500 plus people, like I
Yeah.
still have my weeks or months where things start to backslide and I kind of revert to some old behaviors. It
hmm
just doesn't become this like cascade effect of
hmm
repeated months after months. And I think that's really my only secret at this point. So what works for you? Like all or nothing is
Oh
a
man.
superpower for you, but it's like all or nothing is still a challenge, or you've kind of developed some systems around that.
It's still a challenge, and the biggest thing for me is right now anyways, is getting into the routine of things. Figuring out what routine works for me. My shift is 4 AM till noon. So,
Mhm.
I wake up at 3 AM every day. Is that breakfast? Is that like, by the time 9 AM hits, it's lunch. So and I don't like to eat before the show, whereas some people were like, "I don't know how you do that, I would pass out." Uh, and then so it's just constant sleep when you can get it, eat when you can get it, and it's hard because we all adapt into some form of routine that but that doesn't necessarily mean it's gonna be a good one.
Mm, yeah, and shift workers have some of the biggest challenges because our circadian rhythms are wired for set meal times and the typical sleep wake cycles, and you sort of get adapted to it because you're forced. If
Yeah.
your schedule is fairly consistent, and your weekends might be
Mhm.
sleeping in more, and then that creates more of a challenge starting back up on Mondays. So there's no real good answer
Yeah,
for it other
yeah,
than set meal plans, same time to exercise, same sleep pattern if possible.
yeah.
Easier said than done when you have to get up so early, right? So
Mhm.
that's another one of your hurdles that we're we're trying to help you with today as well at the same time.
I wanted to ask you too, because you brought this up earlier about identity, right? Because you said you were a bigger dude, and now obviously health and fitness is a big part of your life. But how do you? It's such a fine line because I'll give an example, like because I've been up and down so much, I do stand up and I have some bits about being a bigger girl, right?
Yeah.
And they always worked. And then I lost the weight, but I
Mhm.
still maintain that mentality about myself. And then they almost
Mhm.
stopped working because I was smaller. But in my mind, I wasn't. I'm like, but then I
Yeah.
look like an asshole because I'm like, everyone's
Yeah.
like, oh, really? Oh, really? You
Yeah.
are? I'm
And
like,
it's no
no,
longer
it's
funny all of a sudden. Yeah.
right. This is
Yeah.
how it's like I lost the joke, but then I gained the weight again, and here I am doing the same, like some of the same more evolved material around that,
Mhm.
which I just find so interesting because you've been on both sides of the spectrum. So, do you feel this pressure to identify with a bigger person or a smaller person?
Yeah,
How
and
does it feel?
perception is reality, right? How you kind of
Yeah,
see yourself internally is still how you're going to kind of express yourself
yeah,
outwardly. And if you haven't quite shifted to this new version of you, that's whatever you identify as the new version, then yeah, it's easy to kind of revert back in your habits, behaviors to reflect how you feel internally. So
mhm,
for me, it was a slow process, I think, because I reverted and I lost and gained a lot of the same 20 pounds for quite a few years.
mhm.
So what obviously helped was like making this a career choice because now it's attached to it's attached to my identity.
Yeah,
I have to kind of look the part,
yeah,
bodies your business card to some degree, for better or worse. That's kind of the industry.
yeah.
So in my case, it's certainly been beneficial. For others who we work with, it's kind of about like accepting yourself as is, but striving for more.
Mhm,
And that's just tricky balance, right? It's like being
mhm.
happy with how far we've come, but still want to achieve more, but not obsessing about it. And yeah, again, one of those things that's very hard to transition to, you
Well,
know?
the problem is either way, for me anyways, because I've been around this for so long. Like I was like a high level athlete for a lot of my life, and obviously now I'm not. So it's like going from that to not so quickly. I have a friend, she played volleyball in Michigan, and we had a chat about this. And going from that to not an ordinary person, but to some extent, either way, I still have those ultra competitive tendencies. But there's almost this feeling of failure when you aren't able to, your lifestyle isn't able to reflect that because you're like, I know that I'm capable of this. Why
Mhm.
don't I have it? Yeah, it's complicated and a little
Yeah.
discouraging.
Yeah, for sure. With the inner athlete types, yeah, type A, I mean, for lack of a better term,
Yeah,
they really dial into our system and they're checking all the boxes.
yeah,
But we actually need to have kind of a phase two. Like, what's this
yeah.
gonna look like without all the rules and rigidity of the program? And that becomes like, what's your new normal? More of an 80-20 approach, both
Mhm,
to nutrition and exercise. So
mhm,
that it's, striking a balance versus trying to be perfect. And
mhm,
that's a tricky transition, because weight loss is different from like cruising and maintaining. And like weight
mhm.
loss is like in the fast lane. You're dialed in Monday through Sunday, not just the weekdays.
It really
Whereas,
is.
that's the challenging part for most. But
Yeah.
once you get to your goal, it's more, okay, we can cruise, we can maybe let off the reins a bit on weekends, but we still have these habits and routines that keep us where we are. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like two different lines of thought, but you end up plateauing, kind of stuck in the same spot if it's like in between that gray area, where some
Mm-hmm.
weeks you're dialed in, some weeks you're completely off, trying to
Mm-hmm.
find that balance, if that makes
Mm-hmm.
sense.
Yeah. Yeah. The maintenance period. It's like, because then in your brain, aren't wouldn't that person be going, oh man, if I do this, I'm gonna end up back there. If I do that, I'm gonna end up
Mhm.
like it's.
Yeah. And the scale can kind of bounce up from water weight. So then someone who, isn't well versed in what's happening might
Yeah.
get first and then they make rash decisions. So yeah, that's a big part of our process is like, yeah, the weight loss you can probably do with the same old stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Plan B, how does this look going forward for the rest of your life in a balanced, way where you don't feel like you're so restricted? And that
Mm-hmm.
truly is the tricky part. And it's kind of a weaning off of it. It's not like cold
Yeah.
turkey. If you're tracking your meals, maybe we track for 5 days and, give a couple days more hands
Mm-hmm.
off. And the same with your step goals and checking in, and these things all start to be a little bit less hands on so
Mm-hmm.
that they can slowly kind of gain that independence.
Yeah.
And some people, life happens or a family member passes away and they revert back, and
Yeah.
things happen. So it's never a perfect science, but it certainly helps to have a plan B going forward once you've kind of reached your goals.
And
And
like the check-in itself, would you say that the check-in that you just referred to is one of the more key parts? Because I need a babysitter. Like
Mhm.
I'm well aware of that. If I don't have someone being like, no, no, to an extent, I'm accountable to myself, but it's a huge arm for me to have that
Mhm.
extra
Yeah, and in the age of AI,
layer.
the only reason coaches exist, right, is
Yeah.
that the human accountability. You can find the diets and workout plans online, and
Yes.
they might not be perfectly tailored to you, but at least they be something, right?
Yeah.
But it's having someone that actually, like we can oversee what people are eating, like in our app, and they actually complete the
Yeah.
workouts, and we see how long it took them, and then we have the formal check-ins on Mondays. So it is a bit big brother, but that's honestly how humans are wired. They need a little bit more hand-holding, and the science supports, the Hawthorne effect. If you're being watched, you just make better
Hmm.
choices more often.
Yeah.
So that's the value in that. But eventually the goal is like a place of independence.
Really?
Yeah, it takes time to
Oh,
get there, but that
man, how long?
is. Well, everyone's different. I mean, once you get to your goal weight, you stabilize there, you build up your calorie intake again. And there should be a period of a few months where you're kind of a little more hands
Oh,
off, that you can take the baton and run with it. That's the
yeah,
hope. Some people still need some touch point
yeah.
going forward for longer, but everyone's journey is different.
Oh
So
my gosh. Because I did this. I lost like a whack load of weight and then kind of did more of that maintenance thing, except felt like I fell off. Was so defeated by that and did
Mhm.
75 hard.
Oh boy. Okay.
And
Yeah.
then so I did 75 hard and I was like in Manitoba, had some pretty tough stuff going in my personal life. And then it's been I mean, this is catastrophizing, but like pretty downhill from there. And going from that, yeah, total juxtaposition of the 75 hard to now where I'm like, okay, we're off the way again for sure. Not completely off. Like
Mhm.
I don't eat ridiculously, but not the clean eating like I
Yeah.
was. It's like, whoa.
And that's always the challenges with challenges, 75 hard if it's followed by 76 soft, where
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
everything's unraveled. Most of the results you get from those extremes don't stick. I always think, can this person sustain this on day one to day 365? If that's a yes, then I'm
Hmm.
confident the process is sustainable for them. And that's why we really try to boil it down to just 5 simple habits a day: your water, your steps, your sleep,
Hmm.
strength workouts 3 times a week. Like anything that can't be done forever is probably not worth doing for a day, because the results you don't get from it, you do
Hmm.
get from it, don't sustain, right?
Yeah.
And that's sort of my mindset: is less bodybuilder Tupperware,
Yeah.
75 other sweet.
Yes. And that, like,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, like, Did I tell you I'm Italian? Like, I
Yeah,
can't,
yeah.
like, I'm
Need the carbs.
sorry, I can't eat Jay's 7 chicken breast on, like,
Yeah.
I can't. Like, my boyfriend's a professional chef. We're
Oh
not
boy.
doing that. Like,
Yeah,
I've been eating good.
I know, I know. It's
And
such
I'm
a
happy. So sometimes,
yeah,
they say sometimes it's like you get a little bigger when you're sad and you get a little bigger when you're
yeah,
happy. I'm the bigger happy, but it's still
yeah.
but I
Hey,
still think we need to find that balance.
yes, there's real science behind that. When you get
Yeah.
married, it tends to be a bit of natural weight gain that happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, striking that balance is really what we're after. And that's why I talk about the 80-20 rule. I have like a
Yeah.
video I put out, eat the freaking fries and still get fit. Like you can have the
Yeah,
side
yeah.
fries. It doesn't have to always be the salad, but there
Mhm.
has to be some structure and some rules, not rules maybe, but a
Yeah.
system that you can follow. Is food noise an issue for you? I thought that came up in the notes that that's something that you kind of battle with
What's food
during,
noise?
oh, well, like, eh, that's what they kind of associate Ozempic with tampering. It's like that constant craving for something, even when you're on a meal plan and between meals you feel a hunger, or is that not the case for you?
Um, yes and no. When I was like really into the clean eating meal plan stuff, I did a lot of volume eating. Like so I would eat a lot, but like a lot of spinach and a lot
Right.
of, you know, a lot of
Smart.
good, a lot like as much as I could because then I would allow myself to feel full and I'd be okay. The tough part, and it kind of goes to what you were just saying about okay, you can sneak in the fries, is I think a lot of us aren't honest with ourselves with going,
Mhm.
okay, how much of the bad am I actually eating?
Yeah.
Like by saying, okay, but I only do a little. It's like, do you though? Because like for me, I'm an ice cream fiend. Like as much as I love the pasta and the carbs, ice
Mhm.
cream is my stuff, right? So that's the biggest thing I would say is like that sugar monkey, that sugar monkey. But
Mhm.
once I got into the healthier stuff, I still had those cravings, but it wasn't as potent, as
Mhm.
pressing.
Yeah. And would it serve you well to have a bit of that in a structured plan, or you're better if you've cut it off cold turkey? Like
I
what
don't know
yeah,
because if you cut it off, then
eventually it comes
that
roaring
calls
back.
back to the exactly. Because
Hmm.
I remember being in it going, I can't go back. I feel great. I look
Hmm.
okay. Like I can't go back to where I was. And then sure enough, skip the dishes
Yeah.
in Manitoba.
That pesky delivery apps, yes.
Yeah.
Nowadays technology gets in our way. Yeah, so I think there's an opportunity there to strike that balance. Like for me, I'm a binge eater still, like kryptonite.
Yeah.
If the frozen yogurt tub is like in the house, it's gone within a
Hmm.
couple days. But I can have a fudge bar every night and fit that into my plan, no problem. And then that kind of takes the edge off the need for chocolate or ice cream. And there's other
It
things
can't
I
feel
do,
like
but
deprivation. I think psychologically it can't feel like when I was what again when I go back to that place, but it's like I would do you can have half of a Quest bar
mm.
and heat it up and there's your dessert. And it's like, okay.
Yeah, that
I
sounds pretty depressing. Yeah.
the worst one I ever got was I used to wrestle competitively. Like for Canada.
Yeah.
And a lot of weight
Making
cutting
weight
is
is
associated with
extreme.
that. Yeah, it's
Mhm.
extreme weight cutting, sauna sessions and stuff like I
Yeah.
probably should have led with that with the earlier stuff, but that was a huge part of it. And one of the trainers that I had, dead serious, was like, and to treat yourself, you can have a green apple.
Wow. That's the
And I would,
treat?
yeah, and I
Oh
would just
boy.
go home and eat spinach and cry. Like it was so bad.
Yeah, that sounds miserable. I've heard some quite the stories of the sauna suits sweating away to hit
Oh
weight for
yeah.
whatever competition. Yeah, and that's definitely not the healthy, balanced approach, but that's
No.
necessary to reach the peak heights of athleticism or whatever. So I get that,
Yeah.
the two arguments there. But for me, that most people that we work with have other priorities in their life. And it's about
Hmm.
trying to fit this in without taking over. And
Yeah.
that's the balance to strike. And to think of it still in two lines of thought where that calorie deficit is going to require some sacrifice. Hopefully we can do it in a way that minimizes the sacrifice, still kind of, meet your cravings here and there. And then maintenance is where you don't open the floodgates up, but you open up some flexibility,
Hmm.
some sustainability. And that's sort of the two lines of thought to have in your head. even
Hmm.
you can screw up maintenance, but there's always this calorie deficit back here that you can dive back into if it gets too
Hmm.
far north for you. And then
Yeah.
we just try to have different phases throughout the year, depending on the season, depending on your workload and schedule, and
Mhm.
always be doing something and not being off completely. I think that's really one of the secrets to
Hmm.
success. How's it like training? Like that's a piece that I find helps with the diet. It gives you more room for error. Like you earn your carbs, so to speak. Like do you weight
Yeah.
train? Do you do cardio? Do you have some sort of system for that?
Did you say when I wake up?
No, just training in
Oh, I
general.
bet oh,
What's
just training in general. Yeah.
yeah.
I'm big in walking, like
Hmm.
long power walks for like an hour and a half, 2 hours. I could just blow off steam like that. I find that so good for my mental health. Is just to put the AirPods in and put some music
Yeah.
on or a podcast and just like do a walk. Um, I don't know how to like I haven't weight trained in years, but I do go to the gym and I'll do like the bike or like like everyone makes fun of the girl weights. Like the ones I'm talking about, like the the
Hmm.
clean girl
Hmm.
weights.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I know, like yeah, I do what I wouldn't say like I've never had any real professional guidance in the weight
Hmm.
for a
I think
long time.
that's, yeah, I think that's the other opportunity here. Obviously, the one is 80-20 rule, a little more balance. When you do get focused and want to lose fat, making sure it's in a way that's sustainable. And number two is weight training really, it changes the game just because,
Mhm.
well, muscle is a glucose disposal agent. Like more carbs get shuttled into a muscle that's recovering, gives you
Mhm.
more room for error in your diet. And we do want to ensure you balance not just weight loss, but fat
Yeah.
loss, right? Like most people can
Mhm.
go cut calories and they lose a lot of weight on the scale, but as much as
Yeah.
half of it's lean muscle, some of that's bone density.
Hmm.
We want to make it like 90% fat loss that's lost. So
Oh
you're
yeah.
more likely to maintain your results that way because your
Hmm.
metabolism is higher. So how to do that is just sufficient protein in your diet. So I'd be
Yeah.
looking at that and lifting weights with enough intensity and resistance a few times a week, three
Yeah.
times, none of that gold standard. So
Yeah.
that would be what I would
Mhm.
suggest for you.
So not the farmer's wrap I had for breakfast. Hold on, let me just let
Exactly.
me
Yeah.
just write that down.
Yeah, there's the low-hanging fruit. Maybe improve that a little bit. And you're
Yeah,
on.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think a good thing is I'm very self-aware. So I at least have that piece of like I know what I need to be doing.
Yeah.
Obviously not to your level of expertise of like
Sure. You don't
some
need to know.
percentages of fat loss and certain exercises and I'm sure you have the science of this down, but the awareness of good food, well, I shouldn't even say good food bad food because that's a whole other darn
Yeah,
conversation.
yeah, yeah.
But the
Nutritious
awareness
and
of
fun. Yeah.
food that's good for my body and food that's not, I have that, but it's implementing it into practice. I
Absolutely.
want to be honest though, right? Like
Yeah, you're not
I
alone.
want to be honest.
So a question for you then, like what's the promised land look like where you're free of this, we'll call it, I don't know, anchor. I think that's a strong word, but like where
Yeah.
is the place you want to get to where you feel like this no longer has to be such a priority or
Yeah.
burden on your side, so to speak?
Oh man, that's tough because I'm such a competitive person that it's like, am I chasing, what am I chasing? It's
Yeah.
a lot of it's the body stuff too. I know this. I'm not saying men don't deal with body image issues, but I work in such a
Mhm.
physical profession that I see myself every day. And like to the every aorta, like every
Yeah.
millimeter of my body, I'm inspecting it every day. And I know that other people are too. And maybe they're not, but it feels like they are because it's so visual.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
um I guess I was gonna say to get to a point that it's like, oh, I feel like I'm confident on camera, which is such a superficial thing to say.
Hey,
It's
no, I mean,
superficial. But and also feeling healthy and feeling rewarded in myself and not having a constant feeling of like, oh my, I'm not in a good routine with things.
mhm.
Like it's not to lose weight, but it's also not
Yeah.
to
And
lose
that
weight either.
there's nothing wrong with, I know nowadays it's bad to make this just about vanity and it's,
Yeah.
it's a reality. That's just how people
Hmm.
judge us on first impressions. We feel better about ourselves when we're fitter or whatever that looks like. It's
Yeah.
trying to like strike that balance between contentment and
Hmm.
optimal health And
Yeah.
sometimes we can take it too far because there's always another
Hmm.
milestone to hit once we reach certain benchmarks,
Yeah,
right?
it's a hamster wheel, right?
Yeah, it truly is. So we try to get to a place where, okay, if I stayed exactly looking like this and feeling like this, I'm set, right? And once we get
Hmm.
there, anything else is just bonus.
Hmm.
Mainly, it's more so about trying to maintain that because
Yeah.
chasing, the perfect physique or six pack in a men's case, that oftentimes comes with more cost than reward,
Yeah.
for most mere mortals. So yeah, you're probably not too far away from that. It's just doing it in a way that's healthy,
Yeah.
sustainable, and you lose it the right way so that when you get there, maintenance isn't impossible. Because it could be
Hmm.
impossible if you're cutting calories too aggressively, doing too much cardio, not
Hmm.
neglecting the strength piece. Then that
Hmm.
sets you up for failure because you have to eat such little calories to keep you there, and that's not how it
Hmm.
work long term.
Yeah.
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 Well,
How do you feel about that? Like, not necessarily you personally, but just in general of goal setting, because not all of us want to be bodybuilders. We all have different goals. Like some people it's like I want to be able to hold my grandchild or like,
mhm.
I have a very like wanting to look good for the morning news is is a very different thing than
Yeah.
someone just wanting to, be able to not huff and puff up and down the stairs. Not saying that I don't get winded.
Yeah.
But what's your take on that?
Yeah, it's such an individualized thing. Like we try
Yeah.
to peel a few layers off the onion because losing weight is the surface level stuff. There's usually a
Mhm.
deeper why behind it. And sometimes the kids come up if they happen to have kids or grandkids.
Yeah.
Sometimes it is related to their profession like you, and that's fine too.
Mhm.
So we want to get to the root of it because we want that North Star, like to keep them kind of focused. Because sometimes you lose sight of that when you get into the grind. Like, why am I doing this?
Mhm.
And then
Yeah.
that's when the chips and ice cream come calling because you feel less pulled to that
Mhm.
desire to change.
Yeah.
So not a great answer for you. Like we do like to get 90-day roadmaps, like cut and dry. This is how much pounds or inches we want to lose. This is what we
Yeah.
need to do it. But
Yeah.
then kind of detach from that and focus more on the day-to-day
Yeah.
benefits. Because that's what's going to keep you going more is
Yeah.
benefiting your life here and now versus eventually what's to come when you finally reach your goal. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's just it. I took a video last time I lost weight. It was years ago, not months, but and I remember getting on the scale. And I haven't weighed myself probably since then, or even since I've been, at the doctor's
Mhm.
office. But I remember looking at this video and or looking at this video, but looking at the scale at the time and being like, "What? Like, I can't believe this is how much I weigh." And after that, it was like, okay, I had hit my goal. So
Yeah.
it's like, now do we keep going? Like, how snatched can I get? Like, like,
Yes.
how, like, we hit it. Now what? And it's like you almost lose track of how much you're losing when you really
Hmm.
get into I'll say obsession of it. But then
Yeah.
even more so, and my trainer at the time, she is also a bodybuilding coach, and she was like, "Hey, like I'm doing this. Would you like to?" And I was like, I
Mm.
can. I know myself. I'm already as obsessed as I possibly can be.
Yeah.
This would become a major mental health thing for me. Like I would,
Yep.
and it still was a major mental health thing for me. And I didn't even partake in the bodybuilding stuff. So
Yeah.
I can't even imagine. Like it takes a certain type of personality to not be,
Mhm.
uh, if I'm being candid, like screwed up by that. That's my opinion. But
Yeah.
I hear
Yeah.
there's a lot of
No.
issues as well.
Yeah. And that same goes for like business and life. Like we always have the next level to get to. And once we get there, we're like, oh, this isn't what I thought. We look at another mountain peak in the distance and we start chasing that and we lose sight of how far
Yeah.
we come. So that's kind of why I said contentment, even if it's
Yeah.
not optimal, like we still want to feel happy with how far we've come, but eventually get to a place where we can celebrate it too, start to live our
Hmm.
lives. And that's the human condition, I guess. We are always in pursuit of what's next. We don't stop to
Yeah.
smell roses and try to strike that balance is hard. Well,
Yeah.
thanks for joining. I have one more question for you. Just if you could
Yeah.
go back and give your younger self advice about food or body image or whatever, you're still on this journey like everyone else, but
Yeah.
what would you give to that person that's
Oh man, that's a
in
good
your shoes?
question. I would say it's good to enjoy good food. It's okay to enjoy good food when appropriate. Maybe appropriate is not the right word, but it's not a negative to enjoy good food. Think of every Christmas that there's a reason that we put out the good silverware, and there's a reason we go out for a treat for ice cream after a workout. Like, like there's something really special about that. Like lots of good memories come from good food and lots of good uh, I don't know. Like it's just I'd rather eat good cheese than not good cheese. Like
Yeah.
that's if I'm gonna have cheese, I want it to be good cheese. I want to dip bread in oil. Like I want
Yeah.
to have
Yeah.
good wine. Like that is what life is about. Those moments when you take a bite and you're like, oh, man, that was freaking good. So I
Heck
know
yeah.
that's not maybe good to say on a weight loss podcast.
No, I mean, honestly, that's a big part of my message is you don't gain weight from the special occasions or the 6 holiday dinners.
Yeah.
You gain weight the other 300 plus days of the year where it's just a random
Yeah.
Tuesday and you're not making the right choices, right?
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think that's a big takeaway because if you go into a holiday feeling guilty before it starts, then you're not really truly present. You're not enjoying the food,
Yeah.
even if you're forcing it down. So, yeah, guilt-free is the motto on those days. It's just about building those routines and habits to become
Yeah.
that new identity the rest of the year. And that's what's going to ultimately lead to the results you want.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us,
Thank
Ainsley.
you. Nice
Well,
to meet you.
yes, absolutely. We'll chat
Take
soon.
care. Yeah, totally. Cheers.